The port city of Kherson, at the mouth of the Dnieper River in southern Ukraine, was the first, and so far only, of Ukraine's provincial capitals to fall to Russian invaders in the current phase of the Russia-Ukraine war. Russian troops marched into Kherson on March 2 following more than a week of bitter fighting. From that moment, supporters of a free Ukraine counted the days until Kyiv could organize a counteroffensive aimed at liberating the city of 280,000. That day hasn't yet come. Russian troops haven't managed to advance much farther west than Kherson. But Ukrainian troops haven't succeeded in pushing very far east, either. That could change as Kyiv rearms its forces with artillery and other heavy weaponry donated by NATO countries. That's the best case scenario for Ukraine. The worst is that Russia keeps control of Kherson and, following a sham referendum, declares the occupied city independent of Ukraine. Kherson is one of several port cities along Ukraine's long coastline that were targets in the southern front of Russia's wider war starting on February 23. Berdyansk and Mariupol, on the Sea of Azov, are just miles from separatist-controlled Donbas and quickly fell. The Russian army aimed to march west along the Ukrainian coast all the way through Russian-occupied Transnistria and western Moldova, seizing Kherson, Mykolaiv and Odessa, in that order, and totally cutting off Ukraine from the sea. Odessa, Ukraine's most important port, was the biggest prize. But the Russians were undersupplied and incompetently led, and the Ukrainians fought harder than anyone outside of Ukraine expected they would. The Russian 49th Combined Arms Armies advanced ground to a halt outside Mykolaiv, 30 miles northwest of Kherson. In the 6 weeks since then, Russia's northern front around Kyiv has collapsed. Having lost 10,000 or more troops in a fifth of its 125 battalion tactical groups, the Kremlin dialed back its war aims. Regime change in Kyiv isn't feasible. But Moscow still hopes to expand the territory it controls in Donbas while possibly also making another try for Mykolaiv and Odessa. A significant proportion of the Russian Black Sea Fleet is rusting away on the seabed, so an amphibious attack on Odessa is beyond Moscow's means. If the Russians are going to take Odessa, they'll have to get there by land. From Kherson through Mykolaiv, it's not going well for the Russians. On Kherson, we have seen fighting continue there, with no reported shifts over the last 24 hours. With any shifts in territory controlled, an unnamed US Defense Department official told reporters on April 19. In other words, basically status quo, but there is active fighting in the Kherson. It's not just static, there is fighting. But there hasn't been any change in who controls what. A day later, another, or the same, official had very little to add.